Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studio tonight. I guess as you can see, we're going to paint a koi, or at least try to anyway. Lots of beautiful black and white coloring in this guy. A nice orange dot on his head. And some weird yellows and pinks around here. Kind of weird, I kind of like it. Anyway, that's what we're going to try and do. Got to use this tin of paint, so I don't have to, but I'm going to use this tin of paint. This is my Holbein set of paint. These are the 24 that you get in the kit. There they are when you buy a pack of 24. I'm going to set these off to the side. And the reason I want to use these paints tonight is because of the orange that is pre-mixed, the yellow, and it's got black in it. This is the only set of paints that I have that has a true black in there, so I want to take advantage of that. As always, I have pre-drawn my koi fish. There he is. I'm going to use my big Zen Art Supplies paint brushes here, and I'm going to start. Well, let's see, what am I going to start with? I'm going to start by mixing up a little bit of this vermilion. Let's do it this way. I want to see what that color looks like in the pan to make sure it's exactly what I'm remembering, and it looks pretty good. I'm going to mix up a little bit of this rose madder, really light. That's a strong color, kind of like alizarin crimson, so we don't need much of that. I'm going to use that for the pinks in here, and a little bit of this permanent yellow deep, not too much of that. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and wet this guy here. Just get him a little damp. I want these colors to run and mix together a little bit. There we are. And I'm just going to let that go back here. I'm not going to do much back up his body. I want to focus kind of on this guy's head for right now. I'm going to take my little bit of rose madder, and down here by his mouth, I'm going to drop in some color. And I'm trying to look to see where it's at, and I can see some of this reddish pink color right around here, maybe just a little over here. It's almost at this point like some kind of a flesh tone. And with a bit of a drier brush, I'm going to come and put in a little bit of the yellow that I see on this. I say a little bit of a drier brush, not super dry. I want this to still go and spread out a little bit, but I don't want it to totally just run all over, so I want to keep it just a little bit drier. And in fact, that yellow might be a bit strong for me in a couple of places, so I'm just going to wash my brush, some clean water, dry it off a little bit, and try to drag through and pick a little bit of that up. I don't think I need to pick all of it up. I think that looks pretty good right there. I just had a little dry spot over there I wanted to make sure that I got before I did too much. All right, now I want to look at this fish, and I need to get some blues down along the side of him over here, where it's going to be reflected up from the water. A little bit on this top side over here, but a lot on this side. And I think to do this, I'm going to use cobalt blue, which should be this one in this box. All right, get a little bit of color. I still have a little bit of that color on my brush. And I'm going to put that right up along his side like this. I'm going to blend that out. I could have gotten it wet just like I did with his head here. I don't know, I just decided not to. There we go, and that's going to start our shading on the side of this fish, a little bit on the top side over here. A little bit there, not too much. This shading on this coming from this top side could be a lot shallower. We don't see much of that side of the fish, so our gradient has to be a lot shorter. This side, we can actually make this a little bit taller on this side. We could like make it way up there, so we can see a lot of the side of this fish, and so we can see, you know, where it's almost vertical on his side is going to reflect up a lot of that blue that we're going to put as our background. So we want to put a little bit of that color in there. I think that's pretty good, just about like that. There we go. I'm just going to futz with this just for a second or two more, and then I promise I'll be done. Just what I like to do is futz a little bit. All right, and you know what? I'm gonna really thin out some of this yellow. As I'm looking at this, we've got little bits of yellow here and there on this fish. Very light, right up his back. I'm going to put a few of bits of that yellow on like that. We'll cover most of that up, and it's going to dry, and it'll be so light we probably won't see it anyways. And somewhere down here, I'm going to mix in a little bit more of this pink. Down here, I see a little bit of this pink up here. I'm just going to try and mix a little bit of that in. And at this point, we get to wait for a second. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to let this dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, everything's dry here. So I think what I want to do next is start to, well, I'm gonna start by putting in this vermilion spot right here. Let's get a nice bit of orange going right there. And I think something that looks too regular. I'm gonna messy that up just a little bit. And there we go. There's that spot. Just gonna color that in. That should be about all we have to do with that. I'm gonna mix up some black over here. Black, black, black. Come on, black. There we go. I'm gonna actually switch brushes here and get a. Actually, you know what? I'll keep this. I'll continue to use this brush. I'm gonna give it a try. This is a number 8 round. I'm going to turn this just for a second because I want to, actually I should do it like this. Let's do it like this. I'll turn that and I'll turn that. And what we're looking at is this fin here. So I need to trace right along his body and then just start to pull some fins out here. He's got this one really nice long fin that comes out there. got a couple that come out a little way. Something like that. And if I can get around on this side, see, I got a big lump of water right on the end of that. I don't want to have that. There we go. Now in here I can just pull a couple of these. Maybe I can join these two. I hope everybody can see what I'm doing. I know I've slid down the viewing area there a little bit. Anyway, we've just got a mass of black color in here, and some of these nice tendrils, or whatever you want to call these, coming out. I'm going to do it just like that. That's going to be that fin. I'm going to turn the whole thing over. I guess I can turn this over. There we go, so you can see it. And I'm going to do almost the same thing on this fin. Actually, you know what? I didn't see this before. I've got some nice pinkish color here. I'm going to go back into my rose madder. Just get a nice little bit of color. I'm going to put that on there. And I'm going to move on to a different part of this guy while that dries. And I think when that's underneath that black, that's going to look really nice. I wish I'd have noticed that on the first layer. We could have just moved right along with it, but no matter. We can move down here. Let's see, let's do this one here. This one kind of curls. I guess there may be two here. Kind of curl back out and around. Just moving the paper a little bit to make it a bit easier to do this. Just with a very delicate touch, maybe. We just, whoop, I say delicate, and all of a sudden I just put the brakes on that delicate part there, didn't I? I was doing good with some nice thin lines, and then all of a sudden, burp. So we got a couple of them right there. Anyways, let's give it a little bit of, that's a little better. Okay. And what else do we need to do on here? We can do this fin down here. So he's got kind of a more transparent fin up above, and one that's got a little bit more color down below. So we might have to take a little bit more care with this. I'm trying to see how I can get my, I can do it this way, I'll bet you. How I can get my brush in there to get a couple of good lines. I think I've got it. That goes something like that. I don't think I followed the picture exactly, but that's gonna be just fine. And I can certainly do this one here. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah. Once again, the silence strikes. It's hard sometimes to talk while you're trying to concentrate. It's funny how that happens, but it happens. It's true. It's sometimes extremely difficult to do. Anyway, there we go. I think that one's good. Let's see. We can move this over a little bit this way. And we can start on this tail. I do have to paint around a little bit here, but again, not something that's too difficult for us to handle. Just have to maybe stay in the lines a little bit more than normal. I'll try to do it. Sometimes I do it better than others. Sometimes I really don't do it very well at all. I'll be honest with you about that one. See, I think his tail starts. I didn't draw in where his tail really starts, but it looks to be right about here somewhere. Right about there, I think, is a good spot for that tail to start. And we can just begin to lay in some color. Actually, it's pretty easy because when we're only working with black, we don't have to worry about doing much blending. We don't have to worry about going over colors and having much to worry about with how the colors are going to play together. When there's only one, it's pretty easy for us. Let's see, this side of his tail is much more solid black. We don't have enough even that black. Come on, black, come on out there. There we go. That should be enough on. This brush holds a decent amount, so should be able to get there from here. Just kind of scrape that in there. And I'm just kind of pre-lining, I guess you can say, a little bit. I don't know that these are all in the exact right direction. I'm just painting around the top of the fin that's above that. And then I'm going to connect these shapes a little bit. I want to fill in a lot of this color, but I don't want the fin to be a solid black. It's got to have just enough white in there to show where some of that fin, some of the ribbing on this fin shows through a little bit. Come on, one more time should do it. I painted my first koi fish at this point probably a week ago, and I thought it was going to be incredibly difficult. And then I started to paint and I went, you know what, that's not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then so I've set about to do a few more of them, and I rather like them at this point. It's really kind of nice to do if you can. I could make a little better line with this if I had a little smaller brush. This one comes to a really nice point. I don't know, my hand is not overly still today, obviously. I don't know why I'm having as much trouble as I am, but I think the way this is turning out, it's going to be just fine. And I really like that little bit of pink in here. I think that's looking really nice. Give just a little bit more. There we go. I think I'm going to stop that. I think any more than that, and I'm kind of playing with it rather than painting what I want to paint with it. I'm just looking. I've got a few wet spots around here. The paint's starting to drop out and get little pockets and crannies. Whoops. Over here, that's starting to look good. I can do two things at this point. I can try to paint this fin, which runs in there a little bit, or I can start to paint some of the black on the body of this fish, and I could probably miss most of the wet spots, which are only kind of right at the periphery. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Let me get some more black, There we go, and I'm not going to do all of it because we can always come back and do a little bit more, but he's got a little bit on his lip here, a little bit on a line, a couple of spots here and there. Let's see, a bit above his eye on this side. And then I'm going to skip everything that touches that orange. And I've kind of noticed from doing the other ones, if I don't know how to describe this. If I were doing this, blob here, and I did it straight back, it wouldn't look right. So every time I've done kind of a blob, I kind of make it twist down a little bit, just like that. Just kind of a little bit of a curve on it, and it really helps to kind of reinforce that this fish has sides to him, that he's not just a flat plane. So anything like this one, I could go straight like this, or if I bend it around just a little bit going this way like that, just bend it, all of a sudden, well, maybe not that one, maybe that's not the best example, but it will start to look like there's more to it, and that this fish, that just helps add on to the body of this fish. All right, and I'm no longer kind of going by the pattern that this fish had. I think I've kind of broken away and I'm doing my own pattern at this point. I want a bit of a jagged edge around here. I don't want any solid lines or straight lines. Straight is what I mean, straight lines. I want it to be all jagged, like there's scales that are in between there and whatnot. I want it to look as though you're not going to find a straight line when you look at that fish scale pattern. So I don't want to, what happened here? I must have had a water droplet. So I don't want to have a straight line when I lay this color down. Here, I think this is a good example. Right here. These lines, they could go straight, but they curve and point down. As soon as you get them pointed down, then they start to really give that fish some shape to what he looks like. Got a little bit over here. You can see just a bit. Let's give him some color back there too. I got to get a little bit on his tail back here. I don't want to forget that. And now his tail curves the other way, so I've got to kind of curve this bit back that way a little. And I have to be brave enough to believe that when I do this, I'll be able to paint these fins, and everything else is gonna kind of match right in there. I think we can do that. I don't think there's gonna be too much of a problem with that. I'm gonna give another black spot up here. There you go. He's really taking shape now. I don't know that I want to do too much else. I am gonna connect. It's not quite there yet. This orange dot with this back patch back here, but I don't want to do it. It's just a little damp at the moment. And any place that this color has touched, I want to see if I can get off just a little bit. And before I go too far, let's see. Do I have one that's a little stiffer? I want to see if I can get just a little bit of this black color off. I don't know if I can. Well, we'll cover it up. We are going to put some blue on here, so we'll end up covering that up. That was my little bit stiffer brush that has now fallen. That's totally fine. Let's see what we can do here. What was I going to do? I was going to look at his eyeball here and try to kind of smooth that over, and then I'm going to paint his eye in there. I think that's close to what that eyeball looks like, and he's got a little bit of black above this eye also. Just paint that little bit on. I'm going to leave that. I've got a big blob right there. All right, what can I do? I'm going to come back. I'm going to use my favorite rigger brush and hope that I can get enough paint in it for long enough that we can do this. And so I'm going to just put a little color along the base of this fin and just pull out of that all the way to the top. Here's something like this. He's got this really long bit back here. I'm gonna if that doesn't really take, we might have something to do here in a second, but I think that's going to be just fine. And I'm going to fill in a little bit here. And just continue to pull that out in that same direction. Come on. I'm pushing down now. I don't have enough water on my brush. Come on, water, work with me. There we go. If we turn that right side up, now we can totally see that that's that top fin there. And before I wait too long, where's the brush I was using? I'm gonna just blend this bottom with the paint we had put on before. I don't want a hard edge there. There's not really a hard edge there with a fish. Alrighty, you can see we're getting there. We are definitely getting there. I've got a little bit I need to do up here, and I'm going to take a little bit of black and a little bit of our what is this? Crimson Lake? No, Rose Madder. And just get a bit of color on here because I can use that little bit to help define where his lip is, and a little bit of a shadow underneath his whiskers here. And I'm going to mix a little bit of this black with our yellow we were using. And just really lightly and give a little line. Oh, come on. A little line underneath his eye here. There we go. I don't even know if you can see that. It's a tiny amount of paint just underneath his eye. Then I think the next thing we need to do is get out this bigger brush. I'm looking to see it. Maybe I can hold this up and you can see it. There you go. You can see. We've still got a few wet places on here, but I'm not going to fret about it too much. I'm going to let it be wet, and I'm going to start mixing up some color over here. And let's see, I'm going to do a little mix of cerulean and ultramarine. Cerulean is more of a neutral. Ultramarine is more of a warm color blue. And I'm just going to start to paint that on there on a few places that hopefully aren't, you know, I'm going to go right over that whisker. We'll come back to that. In this kit, I have white paint, so I think we'll come back and put some white right over the top of that. Do I have any? Oh, I don't have my favorite phthalo blue here. I don't have turquoise blue that I normally work with. Working with a couple of different colors that I don't always work with. And maybe I should have wetted my paper just a bit before I did this. I think I can save that hard edge there. I think I'll be able to get away with that. See, I've got clean water up there, and I've got used water. I'm going to try to keep that edge with a little bit of the clean water whilst going back in. Oh, I can do this. Okay. I'll go back in with a little bit of Prussian blue on this side of the fish. Not going to be too afraid to make this a bit darker. And that is going to help me define my shadow for this fish. There we go. And I think it's also going to help me get rid of maybe that tide line there that I didn't want. Plus, it's allowing me to stall for just a minute so that I don't have to come in and hit this black with some of this color and have everything run all over the place. But I also don't want to have to stop my video 100 times to finish painting this. There we go. I think that's good. I can move on to this next section. Some of this blue that we had here. And if you remember this cerulean, not cerulean, I'm sorry, this cobalt blue should be fairly similar to the color of blue on the side of this fish, since that was the color that we used when we went in to shade him that little bit. There we go. I'll do that. Let me clean up just a little bit here, and then I can go in with a nice shot of my Prussian blue. I will admit, I really do like the Prussian blue here. There we go. There's that shadow. And I'm just going to continue right on around here. I'm going to put a little bit of water. I know I'm twisting the paper. I hope I'm doing it slow enough so that it doesn't make anybody sick or dizzy or any such thing. I don't want the Prussian blue. I want the cobalt blue. I want the ultramarine blue. Let's see what we got. There. We're getting it. I'm going to keep this edge nice and loose out here. All right. And I think maybe just a little bit more of the Prussian, not much up here. I don't know where my shadow really is going to stop up here, but I don't need to do too much. I think that will be plenty, actually. And I can start on this side. Just get that nice and wet. Come all the way around there. Some of this nice cobalt, warm color on this side, maybe. Actually, I guess I should have used the warmer color down here, the cooler color back there. That would have made a bit more sense. If I'd have been thinking about it, I would have done that. All right, and I just need to paint as best I can around these fins. There are a few places that are still a little wet in there. I don't really want that black to run out, so I'm going to be a little careful. If it gets a little bit into the fins there, I'm kind of okay with that. As the picture that I used for my reference, those fins they're like glass. They're so thin. Some of them are. You can see right through them. So if I get a little bit of color in there, well, I'm going to try not to, but if I do, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I think it'll be just fine. Some of that nice cobalty color out there. Oh, and he's coming together. He's looking really nice. These colors are actually playing together pretty nicely, the cobalt and the ultramarine. There we go. We got just this little area to get to inside here. Come on, fish, work with me. You too, paper. We're almost there. Oh, I just touched it. I just barely touched that wet spot. I'm not worried. I'm not going to worry about it. Not in the least. There we go. He's looking pretty good, I think. I got a little too watery there. I want to get that off before that becomes a back run. And what do I need to do? I said once this got dry, I would add some black onto the top of his head. I'm going to do that right now, just to connect a couple of these spots here. Again, not going in a straight line. I don't want anything to do with a straight line. That can come in there a little bit more, I think. I'm going to cover a big spot. There we go. You know, I'm going to connect this too. Well, it got a bit big. That's all right. There's fish come in all shapes and sizes. We don't know what they look like exactly. They're all got crazy stuff all over the place. Okay, I'm going to go back to my rigger. We're almost done, I promise you. Not much to go. I'm going to get a little bit of this Crimson Lake and Crimson Lake and black mixture. And this fin just looks a bit plain to me, so I'm just going to drop a few stripes in there with that mixture. And then I'm going to mix up some white, something I haven't done in a long time. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a highlight on his eye right there. I'm going to try to draw in this little fin. I can't do it on the other side quite yet. And where else can I draw a little bit of white? I'll give him a little highlight up here on the top of his lip. I can't go over that. I can't go over there. I just got to forget about that area. I have to forget about it. I can't do that. Let's see, while I wait, I've got a couple of seconds to wait. You can see how wet this whole thing is right now. I'm going to pre-sign this because I know I'm going to finish it. I'm going to sign this one right up here. There it is, and all I have to do is wait and draw in this barb, which is already pre-drawn on there, and I think he's about done. Let me put him like that. All right, I know my black spots don't look like the black spots on this fish, and I'm totally okay with that because each fish is a little bit unique and different, and with this fish, that's all good. I'm going to celebrate that with this guy. Let's see if it's quite dry enough. Quite yet. I think that's going to be all right. There we go. One little barb right there. There you go. There is my koi carp fish in watercolor. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe down below, wherever it's at, over there, I think. Give a like to the channel. Stop back again another time when we paint something else. Until then, thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.